It was a rainy Tuesday evening when Daniel stepped into the small, dimly lit diner on the corner of Maple Street. He had just finished picking up his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, from ballet practice, and the two of them were soaked from head to toe. The place smelled faintly of fresh coffee and buttered toast, with a jukebox in the corner quietly playing an old tune from the 70s. Daniel was a single dad, widowed 3 years ago after his wife, Emily, lost a sudden battle with pneumonia. Since then, his life had been a careful balance of working 2 jobs, raising Lily, and keeping himself from falling apart completely. He sat down in the corner booth with Lily, helping her out of her wet jacket. A waitress approached, a young woman, probably in her mid-20s, with tired eyes and hair tied back in a messy bun. She wore no makeup, her uniform slightly faded, and there was something about her face, not unpleasant, but heavy, as if it carried the weight of too many unspoken stories. She placed 2 menus on the table with a quiet, "Here you go," her voice barely above a whisper, and walked away without even glancing at them long enough to notice their soaked clothes. Lily looked at her curiously. "Daddy," she didn't smile, she whispered. Daniel glanced over at the waitress again. He noticed she didn't smile at anyone, just moved from table to table, polite but distant. When she returned to take their order, Daniel gently asked, "Tough day?" She shrugged, eyes fixed on her notepad, "Something like that." He smiled warmly, trying to lighten the mood. "You know, most waitresses smile when they take orders. You never smile. Why is that?" He meant it in a light, almost teasing way, but the moment the words left his mouth, she froze. Her eyes flickered with something, pain, maybe fear, and she swallowed hard before scribbling their order and walking away without a word. Lily looked at her dad in confusion. "Did you make her sad?" Daniel frowned. "I didn't mean to." But deep down, he felt a twinge of guilt. The rest of their meal was quiet, though Daniel couldn't help glancing toward the waitress, wondering what story hid behind those tired eyes. He noticed her hands trembled slightly as she poured coffee for another customer. There was a scar on her wrist, faint but visible. At one point, she disappeared into the back for longer than expected, and when she came out, her eyes were red, as if she had been crying. Daniel paid for the meal but left a larger than usual tip. He and Lily headed for the door, but something pulled at him. He turned back to see the waitress standing near the counter, staring blankly at the floor. In that moment, he knew he couldn't just walk away. "Lily, wait for me outside," he said, and returned to the counter. "I'm sorry if I said something wrong earlier," he told her quietly. She looked at him for the first time, her eyes a deep shade of brown, glistening under the diner's dim lights. "It's not you," she said. "It's just, couldn't just walk away." "Lily, wait for me outside," he said, and returned to the counter. "I'm sorry if I said something wrong earlier," he told her quietly. She looked at him for the first time, her eyes a deep shade of brown, glistening under the diner's dim lights. "It's not you," she said. "It's just, some people forget how hard it is to smile when smiling hasn't been safe for a long time." Before Daniel could respond, she excused herself and walked into the kitchen. Her words haunted him the whole drive home. That night, after tucking Lily into bed, Daniel sat by the window, staring at the rain. He thought of the waitress's trembling hands, the scar, the sadness that seemed to cling to her like a shadow. He didn't know her name, her story, or why smiling wasn't safe, but something told him that her pain was deep, too deep to be left alone. He promised himself he'd return to the diner the next day, not just for coffee, but for answers. The following evening, he and Lily returned. This time, the diner was busier, but the waitress still moved like a ghost between tables. Daniel caught her during a quiet moment. "Can I ask your name?" he said. She hesitated before answering, "Sophie." He introduced himself and Lily, who offered a shy wave. Sophie's expression softened, just a fraction, at Lily's smile. As they talked, Daniel gently asked again why she never smiled. Sophie's lips parted as if to speak, but before she could answer, the diner door slammed open and a tall man stormed in, his voice sharp and angry. "Sophie," he barked, causing her to flinch so violently that she nearly dropped her tray. The man's eyes scanned the room until they landed on her. "Outside. Now." She stammered something about being in the middle of work, but he grabbed her arm, too tightly. The entire diner went quiet. Daniel stood, his protective instincts kicking in, but Sophie quickly shook her head, silently pleading with him not to get involved. The man dragged her outside. Through the window, Daniel saw them arguing in the rain. The man gestured aggressively, and Sophie's shoulders hunched in defeat. A moment later, she slipped back inside, her eyes red again, and returned to work as if nothing had happened. Daniel knew then, this wasn't just sadness. This was fear. And whatever Sophie was going through, it was far more dangerous than he had imagined. That night, as he drove home, Lily spoke up from the back seat. "Daddy, we have to help her." Daniel gripped the steering wheel tighter. He didn't know how yet, but he agreed. He had asked why she never smiled, and now he was beginning to understand, her life had taken away her reason to. And maybe, just maybe, he could help her find it again.